time to see things. Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Different Breed. I want to get better at this game, and my goal is to help you get better as I'm getting better. Today's video, we're going to get better at cams. Specifically, we're going on Consulate, and we're going to be throwing cams into that back hallway where is the basement, the garage, the hallway. We're going to be throwing cams over there so we can watch people. We can watch people sprinting up and trying to speed run that site. Oh, I almost forgot. If you have a spot that you want to showcase, then I have a Discord which has a channel specifically for showcasing gadget spots. Put it in there and have everyone be happy with it. So our first cam is going to be here, right? Actually, really near the default camera. Now you might be like, well, why would you put it over here? So we're just gonna toss it right on this blue sign, okay? You might be wondering why we're gonna put it right on here, because it's gonna be like super obvious. I mean, people are gonna look at the default camera and they're gonna be like, oh, well, I'm just gonna shoot this out at the same time. When no, actually, oddly enough, I've literally been on this cam, watched people shoot this default cam without shooting this thing out. I think it's because it's a blue light, you know, blue light, they match, so maybe people just overlook it. So it's going to be obviously a super easy cam, as I just showed. Just come over here and just toss it right onto this sign. Now, with this camera, you can see all the way down the hall, and you can see the spiral staircase. Now, people coming down the spiral staircase are more likely to shoot out this camera. However, there's also that chance that they're looking down the hallway instead of up here, which I've actually had happen too. I've been able to call out people walking all the way down this hallway, or the staircase over here. So just do it before you say that it's bad and you don't do it. Looking at this as the attacker, like I said, it's the blue on the blue, so it's an obvious camera for sure. I mean, look at that huge light right there, but you might not be able, or you might be overlooking it. People might be overlooking this as they're shooting out this camera. They're just like, oh, that's just a blue sign, so whatever, it's just supposed to be there. And that's really all I can say about that, is that they just think that. There's no other explanation. Anyone want to grab this? You can easily go ahead and retrieve that camera. Our second camera is going to be basically a twofer. We're going to say, like, you can use this blue sign just like we use that blue sign. So you can either toss it on here, and you're going to be able to look a little bit down the hallway, up the stairs, and into this corner over here. It's going to look the same by the attacker side, and it's also easy, and you can retrieve it just like that. You can also toss it right up here, which you'll be able to see a little bit more down this east hall back over here. You'll be able to see the red corner. And still, we have the same visuals for the hallway, a little bit more in the kitchen and less of the top of the stairs. And with having it over here instead of on the actual sign itself, if you're coming down the staircase here, you're not going to be able to see this camera until you hit about here. Now, you're realistically looking at this camera at about this height here. And at this point, you're more worried about this area here than you are about looking up here. And you're so close to the camera that you can see it's just blinking. It's not a circle anymore, so it's gonna be a little bit less noticeable until you at least come around here and you're like looking up. So the dark of the camera kind of blends in with the bottom of the sign here, or I guess technically the top, where it connects to the ceiling here. So it might also get overlooked in that aspect, so this camera might be able to stay out if you're having issues with this little red corner over here. And of course, you can retrieve that camera. So staying over in this corner, right above this sledge, we can toss a camera into this corner. Now, this isn't gonna see too much, right? So we'll see all the way down here if people are trying to come through the archives area, and we'll be able to see, actually, we'll be able to see more than I remember from this over here, all the way to this archives door. We're going to be able to see, but not a two-ton is what I was going to say. Not a whole bunch. What we can do to increase our visibility is we can actually just shoot through this wall, give a couple shots there, and then we'll be able to see right into spiral staircase. as an attacker is coming down the spiral staircase, they're not really going to see this cam at all. They're just going to see a hole, and you know, that might give a little inkling of like, hey, there's a camera there, I should be on the lookout for it. So when they get down a little bit further, then they can see it. But at this point, the attacker's going to be more worried about pipes area over here. So as long as they're like not safe from this, they're going to be more focused on this. If they are safe from it, then yes, that camera's going to be super noticeable and obvious. I mean, it's a darkish corner, it's a red corner, it's a blue light. Like, yeah, of course it's going to be obvious. But if you are trying to get protection or be able to see people coming down the spiral staircase, then that's could be a good option for you. Now, you just saw that I moved all the way over to this east side of the stairs, and you can't see the sledge at all, so you won't be able to see the attackers at all. If we go ahead and destroy this a little bit more on this side, then we will be able to see the entire staircase here. But again, that's just more of a bigger opening and more obvious. Like, I'm just trying to see more parts, but you know, use it at your own risk, I guess. But of course, if you don't like the camera while you're playing a game, you can go ahead and retrieve it. For this technically fourth camera right here, we're gonna do a little bit unorthodox over here. We're going to toss it a little bit higher than this little dividing line here, and we're gonna want to get the back of it onto this over here. I guess you could get the back of it on the other side as well, but either way, we're gonna put the back of it there. And what we're gonna do is, we're gonna have to be off of this camera if you're worried about, if you think people are gonna come down here and shoot the default camera. As long as that default camera is out, this might be a more viable cam, because as you can see, it's really obvious. If I'm scoped in to shoot out the camera, I'm gonna see that one right away, and you might even want to raise it up. So if I were to raise up this camera a little bit higher, and obviously I'll see less of the hallway itself, but it's gonna be harder to see from the attacker's point of view. Like, I don't even see this at all until I get to here. So it might be a little bit more viable to toss that a little bit higher and see less. And what you can do is you can actually use the sound from the camera in order to know if somebody is there or not. You can give a location call out, but not an exact location. So it's still best to be like, oh, they're by the spiral staircase, or they're over by the kitchen door, because you can either see them or hear the distance on this camera. And that's what it's going to be best used for. And if you want to retrieve this camera, then you totally can. So if you try and use it and you don't like it, then go ahead and take it back. And for our fifth and final camera here, what we're going to do is at the end of the spiral staircase, we're going to look at these trash cans. We're going to shove ourselves right into the corner, and then we're going to look up at this default camera here. We are going to aim this last light right here. We're going to aim in between that and the edge of the camera where the black ends right there. And you're going to let it go. It's going to drop right onto this side of the trash can here. And we're going to be able to see if somebody comes down the spiral staircase. We're going to be able to see this archives doorway here. And that's about it. That's all we're going to be able to see. The rest of it, we're just going to have to listen for people. We're going to have to listen for their footsteps, for them sprinting around.
Has been located by Op 4.
And that's what we're going to have to use this camera for, is for sound, not visuals. Now, coming down this spiral staircase, it might get a little unnoticed if I am aiming down sights and I'm worried about pipes. If I'm not aiming down sights, it might still be a little bit unnoticeable, because we are so close to this camera that it's actually flashing blue instead of having a big circle. So it might get overlooked in that aspect because they're going to be worried about too much other things. But if we come back from, let's just say, archives, if we're coming out of this archives door, then it's going to be a pretty obvious camera over here, as long as they're a little more aware. Vigilant? As long as they're vigilant, they'll be able to see this light. It's a solid background. It's a bright colored light, so yeah. But that's the only place they can see it. Anywhere else they cannot see this camera, so it should be a really good camera to use for sound. But if you decide that you don't like it, then you can totally retrieve this camera as well. So if you want to check out areas of this map, or if you just want to see areas of other maps, then check out the playlist that's linked on your screen right now. Don't forget to post your spots in the Discord. Until next time, stay different.